Reial Phillips, a braggadocious gang member from England, was jailed for nearly 3 decades in the fall of 2016 for his role in a brutal territorial war that saw multiple incidents of gun violence take place in Birmingham at various times in 2015. Reial Phillips, who went by Lynch on the street, was part of the Armed Response faction, a group associated with the Burger Bar Boys gang. The latter had assumed control of the Handsworth and Winson Green areas of the city. The gang primarily dealt in narcotics and openly feuded with the Johnson Crew, a rival criminal group who considered their territory to be Aston, Lozells, and Newtown. The Burger Bar Boys targeted their rivals in a series of attacks, resulted in 8 people suffering gunshot wounds. On July the 20th of 2015, the group carried out a drive-by shooting at a barbecue party on Nursery Road. A teenager was shot in the back during the incident and nearly became paralyzed as a result. 5 days later, 2 clubbers were shot in the legs at the Electric Club. More attacks followed, including one in which a man was shot 3 times inside the Cost Cutter store on Great Hampton Row. During Phillips' trial at Birmingham Crown Court, a judge said that the gang member gloried in the shootings. Through content which he posted online, a YouTube rap video was presented as evidence that it showed Phillips boasting about the gang's violent activity, specifically referencing the shooting in which the teenager had been hit in the back. Phillips rapped about other crimes that he committed and also made gun signs with his hands, while further mocking and taunting the Johnson Crew. The rap videos further fueled the street violence. During the legal proceedings that followed, the 20-year-old admitted conspiracy to possess a firearm with intent to endanger life, possessing ammunition without a firearm certificate, possessing a firearm with intent to cause fear of violence, as well as conspiracy to supply cocaine and possessing heroin with intent. Since he was considered one of the leading figures in the gang feud and the man who was at the heart of the shootings, Phillips was jailed for 27 years. Number 9. Richard Klaff Jr. In May of 2024, a young man went live on Facebook from a bathroom above a Kroger supermarket in Fort Wayne, Indiana. 20-year-old Richard Klaff Jr. told his viewers, "I'm going to shoot 11 people. Watch," before pointing a black and gold handgun at the camera. He then lit up a cigar and began loading the pistol. Klaff, who went by Just a Bad Person on Facebook, headed downstairs and continued streaming as he walked through the store looking for someone to shoot, telling viewers, "Which one am I going to choose? And I'm going out with a bang." Among the user comments that started coming in, one read, "Have fun in prison, dumbass." While going through the aisles, Klaff again showed his weapon to the camera. He then spotted a black female shopper near a bakery counter and opened fire. He discharged 6 shots in the direction of the woman and 2 employees before he fled, screaming profanity and a racial slur. Initial reports on the matter suggested that the shooting had been racially motivated. Remarkably, no one was hurt, as all of the bullets missed their mark. Klaff was tracked down by the police and arrested shortly after the incident. He was taken to the Allen County Jail and charged with 3 counts of attempted murder and 1 count of criminal recklessness. As he was questioned by the police, Klaff claimed that he always wanted to kill someone, adding, "That's all I wanted to do. I was supposed to go to the military. I couldn't wait on that, obviously." Explaining his choice of victims, he claimed that they were standing in a position with no cover. If convicted of all his charges, Klaff faced a maximum prison sentence of 126 years. Number 8. Junior Francis. Leading up to the fall of 2014, South London drug dealer Junior Francis had been making tens of thousands of pounds from his criminal activity, while simultaneously boasting about his ill-gotten gains on social media. In one photo, the 33-year-old posed with a stack of bills pressed up against his ear like a telephone. Another image showed him with a large amount of cash in one hand and a bottle of champagne in the other. Francis uploaded an additional photo of 4 large stacks of bills on a kitchen counter, captioning the image with, "Everything I got, I work hard for it." A quote from the rap song The What by the notorious B.I.G. and Method Man. The police investigation that followed gathered sufficient evidence for Francis's Lambeth home to be raided in November of 2014. From the property, law enforcement recovered £7,000 cash and £75,000 worth of crack cocaine and heroin. Francis still denied any involvement with drug trafficking, but a search of his phone revealed evidence from the proceeds of drug dealing and links to street-level dealers in South London. Consequently, Francis admitted possession with intent to supply Class A drugs and money laundering. In late March of 2015, he was jailed for 6 years and 8 months at Inner London Crown Court. Number 7. Mark Price and Emily Locke. Leading up to the fall of 2018, Welsh couple Mark Price and Emily Locke, aged 27 and 22 respectively, boasted a lavish lifestyle on social media. They traveled to Paris, Dubai, Miami, and Las Vegas. Price wore Rolex watches, designer clothes, and drove an Audi RS4. Locke was said to have developed an obsession towards the lifestyle of her idol, Kim Kardashian. Much like her boyfriend, she flaunted high-end goods such as Vivienne Westwood handbags, Gucci sunglasses, Christian Louboutin shoes, and Christian Dior perfume. Law enforcement was alerted to Locke's Instagram, where her posts sharply contrasted the reality of her and Price's occupations. On paper, he was a struggling builder, and she was a law student and a little checkout girl, earning a salary of £10,000. In reality, Price was an integral part of a cocaine dealing operation in Caerphilly. He made up to £2,000 each week, which funded his and his girlfriend's spending. Ultimately, it was Locke's flaunting of the drug-backed purchases that attracted police attention and a consequent investigation that ended in her and Price's arrest. The couple were taken into custody as they were planning a trip to Thailand. Price was jailed for 7 years after admitting possession with intent to supply cocaine and fraud. Locke was convicted of acquiring criminal property and jailed for 18 months. Judge Tom Crowther QC told her during sentencing, "You spent conspicuously and self-indulgently in full knowledge of how your partner was making his money. Your lifestyle was funded by a Class A drug dealer." Number 6. Bronx Crew. In the fall of 2023, 6 Bronx-based criminals were sentenced in New York following a joint investigation involving the Office of the Attorney General's Organized Crime Task Force, the NYPD's Auto Crime Unit, and dozens of local and county-level police departments. Willie Baines, Josefa Cartagena, Brandon Collazo Rivera, Justin Herrera, Douglas Noble, and Alexander Santiago were part of a crew that carried out over 200 burglaries. They targeted ATM businesses, car dealerships, and cell phone stores. Most of the businesses were raided at night, but there were also cases in which the crew entered car dealerships during the day and stole vehicles by driving them straight through the displayed glass windows. They would sometimes wait for the police to respond to a burglary alarm and then engage in high-speed chases as they fled from the crime scene. It led to law enforcement dubbing the investigation Operation Red Line, in reference to the red line on speedometers and the extreme speeds that the perpetrators achieved when making their escape. The Bronx Crew stole goods estimated at over $3 million, including at least 54 vehicles, and the heists occurred in the Lower Hudson Valley, New York City, and on Long Island. The suspects would often hit multiple businesses in one night. Baines, Cartagena, Collazo Rivera, Herrera, Noble, and Santiago were identified through combined evidence from county and local police, license plate readers, video surveillance, and cell phone data. However, pivotal pieces of incriminatory information came from their own social media posts. The suspects posed with large sums of cash or with the stolen vehicles without obscuring their faces, often within minutes of successfully carrying out a heist. 4 of the defendants pleaded guilty to second-degree grand larceny and 2 others to third-degree burglary. All were jailed, but prosecutors didn't immediately reveal the length of their respective sentences. Number 5. Kayla Irizzary. In the early hours of May the 19th of 2018, law enforcement in Moses Lake, Washington, pulled over a vehicle driven by 27-year-old Giovanni Powell. Kayla Irizzary, aged 19, was a passenger in the vehicle. Officers found that Powell was driving with a suspended license, and he was arrested, but they had no reason at the time to detain Irizzary, and she was released. However, when the vehicle was subsequently searched, law enforcement found the teen's ID along with an unspecified quantity of heroin, a small pistol, and her paperwork from the last time she was arrested. As a convicted felon, Irizzary was legally banned from owning a firearm. In the days that followed, Irizzary got on the Moses Lake Police Facebook page and bragged about getting away, presumably unaware about the incriminating items which law enforcement had recovered. The police used social media to set up a meeting with the teen, and she was arrested after a brief foot chase. She was booked into the Grant County Jail. What social media giveth, social media taketh away, the Moses Lake Police Department wrote in a social media post announcing the arrest. The department described Irizzary's online taunting as the #1 killer of criminal karma that there is. The teen was charged with unlawful possession of a firearm and possession of heroin, but the outcome of her case remained unclear. Number 4. Kalan, Williamson, Conor Murphy, and Crew. a crew of burglars were convicted and sentenced to a total of 32 years at Isleworth Crown Court in 2013 after they'd carried out a series of raids in London's upscale neighbourhoods including Notting Hill, Kensington and Ladbroke Grove. Following at least 15 separate burglaries, the suspects made off with cash, phones, jewellery and laptops, as well as a fleet of expensive vehicles including Range Rovers, Porsches, BMWs and a Mercedes worth upwards of £100,000. Law enforcement focused their attention on the 8-man gang after one of the burglars uploaded a photo of himself sitting on the hood of a stolen black Range Rover to his Facebook. That photo led investigators to further conspicuous social media posts from other members of the crew. One photo showed 19-year-old Conor Murphy pretending to bite into a giant stack of bills placed between two slices of bread. The cash sandwich wasn't the only incriminating photo from Murphy, as he also posed on the hood of a silver Porsche Cayman that he and the others had stolen. Further incriminating content would be found following searches of the suspects' phones. The Mercedes-AMG C63 was regarded as the crew's trophy car, and many took turns posing with it. Other photos and videos show the men drinking champagne, wearing Rolex and Cartier watches, racing the stolen vehicles or bragging about other cars that they planned to steal. The suspects, aged between 18 and 23, were members of a street gang called Ladbroke Grove Blood. Between April and September of 2012, they primarily targeted properties where valuable vehicles were held. They forced their way inside the homes using carjacks, usually while the owners slept upstairs, with the aim of stealing car keys, but they also pilfered other valuables within reach. The crew then drove off in the vehicles. The Ladbroke Grove Blood was not only brazen but also arrogant in its approach, often returning to burgle the same victims. The police launched Operation Decker, which culminated in a series of dawn raids that resulted in the 8-man crew being taken into custody. The combination of evidence from their social media posts, CCTV footage and the content found on their phones solidified their active involvement in the crime spree. 20-year-old Chelsea man Kalan Williamson was identified as the principal conspirator, and he pleaded guilty to 11 of the burglaries. He was jailed for 4 years and 8 months. Murphy was given the same sentence. All but one of the crew, 18-year-old Rory Mason, admitted their guilt. Mason, who'd at one point posted a photo with multiple £50 bills fanned in his hand, was found guilty following a trial and handed a 4-year sentence. Number 3. Carlo Dorelli. In the fall of 2024, law enforcement in Port Orange, Florida received reports that a middle school student had threatened to carry out a shooting at the Creekside Middle School, which he attended, and at the nearby Silver Sands Middle School. Carlo Dorelli had shown his collection of weapons during a FaceTime call with another student. He'd also reportedly presented a list of potential targets. Officers from the Volusia County Sheriff's Office went to Dorelli's home and found an arsenal which they collected, laid out on a table and photographed. The weapons included swords, knives, throwing stars, and a slingshot, along with multiple airsoft guns. Officers also retrieved the kill list and found that the names had stab marks next to them. Dorelli admitted that he'd shown the weapons to his friends, but claimed that he couldn't remember if he had told them they weren't real firearms. The boy also said that he had no intention of causing actual harm to anyone, and that it was all a joke. Law enforcement recorded the arrest and the preteen was perp walked. Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chitwood stated that such threats would not go unpunished and that the perpetrator's photo would be made public. The incident with Dorelli was part of a recent wave of fake tips about impending school shootings costing the department thousands in taxpayer money. The bogus reports followed the September 4th shooting at Appalachia High School in Georgia, in which 4 people were killed and 7 others were injured by gunfire. Sheriff Chitwood issued a stern warning to those who would issue fake reports, telling the media, "For the little bastards out there who think this is funny, ha ha ha, you want to get on social media? You ain't that smart. You're getting caught." Number 2. Leon Roberts and Jade Muzoka. In July of 2015, bodybuilding couple Leon Roberts and Jade Muzoka, aged 38 and 27 respectively, spent a week at the luxury Cornelia Diamond Golf Resort and Spa in Belek, Turkey. Upon their return to Derby, England, the couple sought to boost their social media presence by uploading dozens of photos from their trip. They were shown lounging by the swimming pool, drinking and eating dinner. Less than a year later, in April of 2016, the couple filed a claim for around £3,000 damages, alleging that they'd suffered severe food poisoning at the resort. Roberts and Muzoka said that they were bedridden with diarrhea and vomiting, which ruined their romantic getaway. They sued the hotel and travel company, TUI, using a questionable doctor's report to back the claim. Extensive investigative efforts from the resort and the travel company revealed that the couple's allegations were completely false and an opportunistic offense. The lack of factual information to confirm their reports of being sick was further supported by their social media activity in the trip's immediate aftermath. A representative for their tour operator said that the couple's social media entries made it plain both had a very enjoyable time. Roberts and Muzoka ultimately admitted fraud, and in the spring of 2018 they were handed suspended 6-month jail terms in order to complete unpaid community work. TUI noted that the claim could have cost them up to £50,000 had the pair not been caught out. Stick around after number 1 if you have not yet seen our episode about when driving like a dumbass goes wrong. It's a bit different than today's topic, but it's an interesting episode nevertheless. Number 1. Jonathan Dougan and Matthew Murphy. During a 7-month campaign between November of 2012 and June of 2013, Jonathan Dougan and Matthew Murphy carried out a series of burglaries in North Manchester, Bury, and Salford, England. At the time, they were on license following a previous robbery sentence and barred from being together. The authorities said that Dougan and Murphy, both of whom were in their 20s, blighted the lives of homeowners in the areas they targeted. They were linked to over a dozen thefts, but their behavior in the aftermath would lead to the media labeling them as being among Britain's most dumb-witted criminals. The duo made off with high-powered motorcycles and high-priced cars, but then inexplicably decided to pose with the stolen goods in photos that they uploaded to social media. The authorities launched Operation Exmoor, and a major part of it was examining Dougan and Murphy's online activity. In November of 2012, they carried out thefts only minutes apart in Castleford and Prestwich. They made off with a Mercedes A-Class and a Triumph Bonneville motorcycle, which was later featured in Murphy's Facebook photos. In a separate incident, the duo stole a Mercedes E820, of which Murphy again uploaded photos on his public profile. Among the homeowners they targeted was an elderly couple from Broughton, both of whom suffered from cancer. The thugs took the couple's Honda Accord, which was later found crashed into a tree in Openshaw, following a high-speed police chase. In June of 2013, the duo stole a KTM motorcycle, but the owner was tipped off that Dougan was responsible. They searched the latter's social media and found a photo of him straddling the motorcycle. Dougan and Murphy were arrested, and their convictions were secured via the online evidence and by content found on their respective phones. In 2014, each of them was jailed for 9 years and 4 months. Judge David Hernandez said to them, during sentencing, "You were glamorizing your offending. You took great pleasure in committing those crimes." Texas A&M University freshman Miranda Rado crashed her Acura SUV into the back of a parked police car in the fall of 2016 in Bryan, about 100 miles north of Houston. Bryan police officer John Sartella had responded to a domestic disturbance in the area when he saw the 19-year-old collide with his vehicle hard enough that the airbags were deployed. Upon approaching the teen, Sartella noticed that she had an unclasped brassiere and was in the midst of putting on a black blouse. When asked why she'd been topless behind the wheel, Rada claimed that she'd previously sent a Snapchat selfie to her boyfriend while stopped at a red light. Rada admitted to drinking wine at a friend's house before she got in her vehicle and headed back to campus. An open bottle of wine, which was 3/4 empty, was found in the young woman's vehicle. Rada failed a field sobriety test, after which she was taken to St. Joseph's Hospital to have blood drawn. She was subsequently booked at Brazos County Detention Center after being charged with driving while intoxicated with an open container and issued a citation for a minor in possession of alcohol. Number 7. Colorado driver. In the spring of 2023, the Springfield Police Department in Colorado performed a traffic stop on a driver going 50 miles per hour in an area where the limit was 30. Once the vehicle had come to a halt in full view of the officers, the unnamed driver switched positions with his dog and placed the pet behind the wheel. He then came out to the vehicle's passenger side and claimed he hadn't been driving. When questioned about drugs or alcohol, the driver tried to run away, but was caught within 20 yards. He was taken to Baca County Jail on charges of driving under the influence of alcohol and/or drugs, speeding, and resisting arrest. News of the incident generated a plethora of memes online, most of them containing images of dogs stating their innocence. Commenters pleaded for the release of official videos from the incident, but as of mid-May of 2023, the police stated that they wouldn't yet make public dash and body cam footage. Number 6. Trevor Heitman. On August the 23rd of 2018, the parents of Trevor Heitman, a popular YouTuber known as McSkillet, spoke to San Diego police, telling them that their son was in the midst of a mental health crisis. Reports indicated that the 18-year-old had threatened to harm his mother and that he was screaming, paranoid, and delusional. Body cam footage of the parents' interaction with the police was released in 2020. Heitman's father pleaded with the officers to remove the teen from their home and take him to a mental health facility. Psychiatrist Dr. Mary Rusher, a family friend, arrived at the scene and told the police that Heitman was clearly experiencing a psychotic episode and that he should be placed on a psychiatric hold. The officers, however, claimed that removing Heitman from the home would be a violation of his civil rights and that they couldn't do anything. The teen's mother expressed fears that someone was going to get hurt. The officers left, but a few hours later they were once again called to the home. Heitman's parents told the responding units that they tried to block their son's path with their own vehicle as he was trying to leave the home in his 2015 McLaren 650S. Their concerns stemmed from the fact that the teen had previously admitted to driving the supercar at high speed in areas typically limited under 30 miles per hour. The teen rammed the McLaren into his father's car and sped from the driveway. He went to the Ashley Falls Elementary School in Carmel Valley, where he drove through a fence and then through an unspecified item, shattering a window. Fortunately, classes weren't held at the time. Heitman then sped down Interstate 805 at over 100 miles per hour. He at one point lost control of the McLaren and swerved into the wrong side of the road. The teenage driver collided with a 2010 Hyundai SUV driven by 43-year-old Eileen Pizarro, who had her daughter, Ariana, in the passenger seat. The impact produced a fiery crash in which both vehicles were mangled and the 3 occupants killed instantly. 8 other people were injured in the incident, which occurred near the Governor Drive exit at around 4:30 p.m. The Pizarro family sued the Heitman estate, the city of San Diego, and the county of San Diego for their failure to recognize that the teenager was having a psychotic break. Heitman's family also sued the city of San Diego, the county of San Diego, and the psychiatric emergency response team on the same basis. Number 5. Amado Vidari. Law enforcement in Houston, Texas, attempted to pull over a driver who was speeding on Parker Road. In late February of 2018, Amado Vidari, aged 33, refused to stop and engaged the police in an 8-mile chase, during the course of which he ran other vehicles off the road while speeding through traffic signals and stop signs. Vidari accelerated to over 80 miles per hour as the pursuit unfolded. He then reached a curve in the road near Hall's Bayou, crashed into a bridge side rail, and his car became airborne. It flew 15 feet into the air and burst into flames before landing in the bayou. Rescuers made their way through waist-deep water trying to reach the man. They were unable to get to him in time as Vidari's gas tank exploded. The 33-year-old, whom the police believed was intoxicated at the time, was killed in the fiery crash. Vidari's family couldn't provide any insight into why he'd refused to pull over, aside from his sister saying that he didn't like cops. Number 4. Incident in Derbyshire. On July the 30th of 2023, surveillance cameras near a property in Littleover, Derby, England, captured the moment that a Mercedes-Benz A-Class violently crashed into a standalone garage. The vehicle, driven by a 19-year-old whose identity wasn't revealed, struck a brick pillar from the driveway entrance before it spun uncontrollably and smashed into the building. The impact completely destroyed the vehicle's front end and obliterated nearly half of the garage. 3 teens, including the driver, emerged from the smoking wreck. News outlets reporting on the incident would note that they'd cheated death, as all 3 were taken to the hospital and only treated for minor injuries. Homeowner Sunita Singh was present at the residence with her daughter at the time of the crash. She later told the media that, in spite of the damage to her property, her main concern was for the people in the vehicle, describing their survival as a miracle in itself. No arrests were reported in the incident's immediate aftermath. Number 3. Ramon Santiago Garcia. In mid-August of 2023, a Florida teenager was arrested at a Haines City home after having previously caused a high-speed crash in Davenport. An officer from the Florida Highway Patrol was performing stationary radar speed enforcement on Ronald Reagan Parkway near Champions Gate Boulevard when he was passed by a 2015 red Ford Mustang. The car was going nearly 80 miles per hour in a zone where the limit was 40 miles per hour. The driver would subsequently be identified as 18-year-old Ramon Santiago Garcia. As the trooper turned on his emergency lights and started pursuing him, Santiago Garcia switched off his lights and sped off into the dark, disappearing from the trooper's sight. Upon reaching the intersection of Ronald Reagan Parkway and Pine Tree Trail, law enforcement discovered that the Mustang had slammed head-on into a Nissan Pathfinder. The fronts of both cars were obliterated by the impact, and the Nissan's occupants, 2 women in their early 20s, were taken to a local hospital in serious condition. Santiago Garcia had reportedly fled the scene on foot, along with one of the Mustang's passengers, while a second passenger was found in the back of the vehicle and taken to the hospital. Santiago Garcia was charged with reckless driving causing serious bodily injury, fleeing with disregard to causing injury or death, and leaving the scene of a crash involving serious bodily injury. Number 2. Stephanie Duncan. On the evening of May the 11th of 2018, officers from the Riverside Police Department in Illinois were called to a 2-vehicle crash at Barry Point and Berlin Roads. They found 23-year-old Stephanie Duncan, who was injured and still inside her vehicle after a head-on collision with another car. Officers noted that the young woman smelled of alcohol. Witnesses reported that Duncan had been traveling northbound on the Barry Point Bridge. She crossed over the bridge driving in the wrong lane at a high rate of speed and seemingly unable to control her car. Duncan continued dipping in and out of the wrong lane until she cut a curve and slammed head-on into an oncoming vehicle. The second driver was treated by paramedics at the scene, while Duncan was taken to Loyola Hospital in Maywood. She agreed to a breathalyzer test while at the medical facility, and her BAC was found to be 0.240, whereas the legal limit in Illinois was 0.08. She was arrested and charged with drunk driving, improper lane usage, driving in the wrong lane, speeding, and no vehicle insurance. Number 1. Denny Rubio. Chicago teenager Amelia Mazaikis was driving her boyfriend of 3 years, Deshaun Tudela, to work on June the 10th of 2023. The recent high school graduates, both aged 18, were in the middle of a Rolling Meadows intersection when 32-year-old Denny Rubio sped through a red light and broadsided them. The collision was captured on surveillance cameras, and the footage showed Mazaikis' vehicle being pushed and slammed by Rubio's truck into another vehicle. The teens were both killed in the crash. Rubio's truck ended up in a ditch, and an altercation ensued when he was approached by responding law enforcement. The shirtless man tried to grab a pistol from one of the cops and was able to remove 2 magazines from them before he was subdued through the combined effort of 9 officers. He was found to have sustained only minor injuries in the crash that ended Mazaikis and Tudela's lives. At the time, Rubio was on probation for a 2022 weapons charge. He was taken to a local hospital where he tested positive for cocaine and fentanyl, while his blood alcohol content was determined as 0.136. The Elgin man was arrested and booked on a $2 million bond after being charged with reckless homicide, aggravated DUI resulting in death, and attempting to disarm a peace officer. Prior to his arraignment, Mazaikis' distraught mother told a CBS affiliate, "I wake up and I break every single day over and over again." Standing outside Rolling Meadows Courthouse, Tudela's mother was quoted as saying about the tragic loss of the teens, "They were taken far too young. They were only at the peak of their potential." Rubio pleaded not guilty to his felony charges and was ordered to enter a substance abuse program at Cook County Jail. He was to be expected back in court on September the 11th of 2023. Thanks for watching. What's the first thing you do if all non-violent crime was legal for a day? Let us know in the comments section below.